Hi, this is Kimberly. I'm going to play for you a segment that was on Dr. Oz last week about Gannon Stauch and his stepmother. His stepmother, his stepmucker, his female parent by marriage. Nancy Grace was a guest commentator for this True Crime Tuesday piece. Now, I don't know when or where or how Dr. Oz went from discussing how your poop should look to being a gumshoe, but by the way, Dr. Oz recommends that your excrement should curl around like a snake, and that yes, you should turn around and look at it before you flush. Anyway, consult Dr. Oz about that, please. Thank you. Dr. Oz touts on his website, quote, "Watch every Tuesday and Thursday as Dr. Oz investigates the most shocking scams and crimes sweeping the headlines," end quote. Y'all may notice I still have some laryngitis going on, for God's sake. But if you're curious about why I or we or you or why anyone is called a gumshoe, it's because back in the day, a detective would have footwear that was made of gum rubber for creeping around, so he could be all quiet and shit. Then later on, gumshoeing was meant just that you were creeping around. One might do this so they could sneak up on and rob folks, or if they weren't gumshoeing around to catch bad guy criminals. I always imagine a black shadow of myself, although it be slimmer, but a black shadow of me creeping and tiptoeing around with a magnifying glass. That would be like the logo on my door, I don't know. But, enjoy this Dr. Oz piece, and then stay tuned if you would like information for attending a live-streamed only memorial for Gannon Gman, Little Boy Blue Stauch. It's coming up in August. I'll post this information in the description below as well, but hope you enjoy this, and much love and peace. Thank you for listening.
This evil stepmom,
I think she arranged for him to be thrown away like trash.
reported her stepson missing.
This case has more twists and turns.
So why did police arrest her for his murder?
Where did all that blood come from? And why did she change her stories?
All new Oz.
Can you imagine what this child went through? She has been formally charged, and she's waiting on her court date now.
Yeah, I wonder if he had any idea this was coming at him. Poor Gannon. So court documents claim Gannon was killed in his Colorado bedroom, as Nancy outlines, but his remains were discovered in a suitcase. That's his burial, in a suitcase under a bridge in Florida. So how do police believe Gannon's body was transported almost 1,500 miles away?
I think the body was transported by vehicle by the mom. I think she arranged for him to be thrown away like trash in a suitcase. I find it very difficult to believe that anyone helped her that was a co-conspirator. And if you think there may be a boyfriend, why don't you be looking online for a boyfriend if she already had one? I think she did this all on her own, then changed her story. First, she said Gannon was going to a little friend's house that day, and then he never came back. But she couldn't tell us what little friend, what home, nothing. I know where my children are at this minute, much less let them just walk away. To where? When? Who? Where are the parents? That stunk at the beginning, but then she changed her story, Oz, to say that there was an assailant that came in the home that raped her forcibly and kidnapped Gannon, and that the blood found on Gannon's floor under the bed, that blood that seeped through the carpet liner onto the cement, that was a mixture of hers and Gannon's blood. That is a lie. It's all Gannon's blood. And that amount of blood, you're the doctor, you're the MD, I'm just a JD, will show a mortal injury.
So what's the next step in the case against Gannon's stepmother?
Well, she can't get the death penalty. That's not going to happen in that jurisdiction. But she can look forward to life behind bars without the possibility of parole. Of course, after a long trial where she will be the center of attention and the star, at least until sentencing, when they cuff her and drag her out of the courtroom.
Oh, my goodness. Well, coming up, Letecia's suspicious Google searches in the days following Gannon's death. Searches like, find me a rich guy who wants me to take care of his kids. Think about it. We'll be right back. Today's true crime, the murder of 11-year-old Gannon Stauch. Horrific developments in his case have shocked the nation. On January 27th, after staying home sick from school, Gannon suddenly vanished without a trace. Gannon's stepmother reported him missing on the very same day, but her shifting stories about what took place began raising suspicions. On March 20th, Gannon's body was discovered in Florida, hundreds of miles from his Colorado home. What happened to the 11-year-old? And was his stepmother responsible for his death? Joining me via Zoom is Nancy Grace, prosecutor and host of Oxygen's Injustice with Nancy Grace and Fox Nation's Crime Stories with Nancy Grace. Nancy, how did this all begin? Where were Gannon's biological parents during all this?
Well, the father had a job with the military, and he was not home at the time that Gannon went missing. The bio mom lived, of course, in a different location. So the dad at the moment had Gannon. Gannon, just 11 years old, and he goes missing. And I don't like this when it happens. I've gone round and round with police all over the country about this. He was first titled a runaway. But don't blame the police yet, because they were working off the information that the stepmother, Letecia Stauch, had given them. So that's what they went on. But then it went several days with him being titled a runaway. He was not a runaway. This case has more twists and turns in it. Then pops up the neighbor, catty-cornered. The neighbor has home video surveillance, and the neighbor tells us, Crime Online, that he watched that surveillance 20, 30 times. He went over to the Stauchs and said, hey, I've got to show you this video of Gannon. Guess what? Letecia Stauch, the stepmother, didn't even want to see it. She sent him packing. Oz, can you imagine if somebody told me they had video of the twins? I would be lying on their front steps, begging, screaming to see the video. But no, she didn't even want to see it. But what it showed was them leaving, her and Gannon, and her coming back, and Gannon did not get out of the vehicle. But if you carefully read, Dr. Oz, very carefully, it's about a 35-page affidavit. Boy, I learned a lot. For instance, have you ever heard of fakepolygraph.com? Because I have. You can get a fake diploma, I think is how this works. I've got to research it more. But apparently, allegedly, the stepmother gets in touch with fakepolygraph.com to give her a polygraph, clean bill of health. But then they wouldn't do it because the manager said, no, we can't do it with these questions. Questions were like, did you have anything to do with the disappearance of your son? Do you know where your son is? That's what she wanted on the polygraph, according to these documents. Now, listen to this, Oz. This is new. Our staff at Crime Online was in touch with her. She arranged to meet with us to show us the polygraph. Then at the last minute, she didn't show and made up an excuse. I guess she got the bad news that fakepolygraph.com would not give her a polygraph. But forget that. What about the blood? The blood evidence. You know, if I came in my children's room and saw their bed was moved to a different area, which has just recently happened, my daughter rearranged her room, I would notice it. Her bed was in a different spot, an 11-year-old boy. Wonder why? Because underneath the bed was blood. It had seeped through the carpet liner down onto the cement basement floor. He had his own room in the basement. Where did all that blood come from? And why did she change her stories, Oz?
Well, no wonder she's a person of interest now. So on March the 2nd, police arrested Gannon's stepmother, Letecia Stauch, and charged her with first-degree murder. So Nancy, do police have any theories about how Gannon was killed?
Oz, I hate to even tell you this. He was murdered 3 times over. The autopsy reveals use of a knife, a blunt instrument, and a gun.
Oh.
3 modes of death on an 11-year-old boy. Now, I told you about fakepolygraph.com, I believe was the name of it. But that's not all. This little boy's body, he's from Colorado Springs, was found all the way down on the Florida Panhandle near Pensacola. That is not a random killing. Blood evidence, as I mentioned, was found not only on the floor of his bedroom, Oz, but on the back bumper of her black Volkswagen. How did that happen? Not only that, we also find out about Google searches. Oz, if you're planning a murder, don't research it on your phone, okay? Because there were searches such as, can my parents find my iPhone if it's turned off? Can my parents find my Nintendo Switch if it's turned off? Which makes me want to know, where's his Nintendo Switch? Questions like, how do I get out of a marriage? I feel like a nanny. Horrible questions like that she posed to Google. There's thousands of pages of documents, including cell phone records and even ADT burglary records from their home security system, showing when there was movement in the home at the time Gannon was murdered there in the home.
Well, these questions certainly point to a potential motive for the Gannon stepmother allegedly murdering him. Which of those do you think is true? Or are they all true?
You know what, Dr. Oz, as I have told many a jury, the state does not have to prove motive. How are we supposed to get into the mind of a killer, an alleged killer like Letecia Stauch, truly the quintessential evil stepmother, and figure out her motive? But I can tell you this, she was looking to date other men. She, based on her Google searches, she wanted money, but didn't want to work for it. She wanted to marry a different rich man. I wonder if her husband knew about that. But those are some of the motives, being angry for having to take care of Gannon, when you know the bio mom would have taken him back, just all for naught. And now an 11-year-old boy has been murdered 3 times over, his body dumped thousands of miles away from home. You know, this is the age of my children, Oz.